Pregnancy changed everything and nothing all at once. Rahab's body transformed, the subtle swell of her belly at 12 weeks becoming unmistakable by 16. She glowed, everyone said, though she felt mostly exhausted and craved the weirdest combinations of food. Jollof rice with kimchi, suya spices on Korean barbecue. Her mother called weekly with advice, and Minjun's attentiveness bordered on smothering. "I'm pregnant, not fragile." She'd laugh when he tried to carry her groceries, help her into cars, prevent her from doing anything remotely strenuous. "You're carrying my child. That makes you precious cargo." Work became complicated in different ways. Her boss was supportive, but she could see the calculations happening. How long would she take maternity leave? Would she come back at full capacity? Was she still the ambitious marketer they'd promoted? She worked twice as hard to prove pregnancy wouldn't slow her down. But the real changes were happening in Minjun's world. His transition out of the criminal empire was creating power vacuums. Some of his people had followed him toward legitimacy. Others had splintered off, forming their own factions. And a few had reached out to rivals, looking to undermine what they saw as weakness. "The Busan crew is getting aggressive again," Jin Ho reported one evening. Rahab was 6 months pregnant, and despite Minjun's protests, she'd insisted on being present for business discussions that affected their family. "They see your exit as an opportunity to move on Seoul. Let them try." Minjun's voice was cold. "I'm going legitimate, not dying. I still have connections, resources. Anyone who tests me will learn the difference." "They know about the baby," Jin Ho continued carefully. "They see it as leverage." Rahab felt ice run through her veins. She placed a protective hand on her belly, where their daughter, they'd found out 2 weeks ago, was currently practicing what felt like martial arts. "Enhanced security," Minjun said immediately. "On Rahab, on the penthouse, on her work. No one gets within 50 feet without being vetted." "Already done." "But boss, there's something else." Jin Ho looked uncomfortable. "There's been talk. Some of the old guard think you've gone soft. That she—" He nodded respectfully at Rahab, "has made you weak. They're saying things need to return to the old ways." "Who specifically?" Jin Ho named 3 names. Men Rahab had met at the wedding, older, traditional, the kind who saw women as decorative and loyalty as absolute. Minjun's expression went flat, and Rahab recognized it. The face he wore when making terrible decisions. "I'll handle it." "Minjun," she started. "We'll discuss it privately," he said, his tone brooking no argument. After Jin Ho left, they sat in tense silence. "You're planning something violent," Rahab finally said. "I'm planning to protect my family. There's a difference between protection and retaliation. Not in my world." He turned to face her fully. "These men are questioning my authority because I chose love over fear. If I don't respond decisively, it won't just be them. Others will follow. And eventually, someone will decide you and our daughter are acceptable casualties in their power play. So what? You kill them? Go back to being the monster you're trying to stop being." "If necessary, yes." The words hung between them like a blade. Rahab felt tears of frustration and fear prick her eyes. "I didn't marry a monster," she said quietly. "I married a man trying to be better. Don't let them drag you back into the darkness. And I married a woman I need to keep safe." His voice gentled, but the steel underneath remained. "I can't be soft right now, Rahab. Not when our daughter's life might depend on people fearing me. There has to be another way. Then help me find it." That stopped her. She'd been so focused on what he shouldn't do that she hadn't considered what he could do instead. She thought about her work in marketing, in strategy, in understanding motivation and perception. "What do they want?" she asked. "Power, money, respect. Then give it to them, but on your terms." She stood, pacing despite the awkwardness of her pregnant belly. "You're trying to go legitimate, right? That means you need legitimate leadership for the businesses you're building. Offer them positions, real positions with real money, in your new empire. Make them stakeholders in your success instead of threats to your authority." Minjun was quiet, thinking. That could work for some, but not all. Some are too entrenched in the old ways. Then isolate them. If most of your people move toward legitimacy, the holdouts become outliers. Irrelevant. You don't need to destroy them. Just make them obsolete. A slow smile crossed his face. You're devious. I love it. I'm practical. And I'm protecting our daughter too. Just differently. Over the next month, Minjun implemented the strategy. It was delicate work, offering opportunities to those who'd follow, systematically sidelining those who wouldn't. He restructured his organization into proper corporations with boards and shareholders and legal structures. Those who adapted thrived. Those who didn't found themselves without influence. 2 of the 3 men who'd challenged him took positions in the new structure. The third tried to rally opposition and found himself alone. His power base eroded by defection and indifference. He left Seoul quietly, and Minjun let him go. No blood, Rahab said when Minjun told her. You did it without blood. Because you showed me how. He placed his hand on her belly, feeling their daughter kick. She's going to be brilliant like her mother. She's going to be strong like her father. God help us all. She'll be both. The pregnancy progressed. Rahab's body grew round and awkward. She had to stop wearing her favorite shoes, had to modify her work clothes, had to accept that grace and agility were temporarily suspended. But she felt powerful in different ways. Creating life, building a family, watching Minjun transform from crime boss to expectant father, attending childbirth classes with endearing nervousness, reading parenting books in 3 languages, obsessively baby-proofing the penthouse months too early. You know she won't be mobile for like a year, right? Rahab laughed as he installed cabinet locks. I want to be prepared. At 8 months pregnant, Rahab's water broke during a board meeting. She was presenting the quarterly marketing results when she felt the sudden warmth, looked down, and saw the puddle forming beneath her chair. For a moment, she just stared. Then her boss noticed. Oh my God, is that? My water just broke? Rahab said calmly, though panic was screaming inside her head. Someone call Minjun. Tell him it's time. The room erupted into controlled chaos. Someone brought towels. Someone else called an ambulance. Yuki grabbed Rahab's emergency bag. They kept one at the office just in case, and held her hand as the contraction started. You've got this, Yuki said. Breathe. I'm too early, Rahab gasped. She's not due for 3 more weeks. Babies don't follow schedules. She's ready when she's ready. Minjun arrived before the ambulance, taking the stairs because the elevator was too slow. He burst into the conference room looking absolutely terrified and trying to hide it. I'm here, he said, crossing to Rahab. I'm here. I've got you. I'm scared, she admitted. I know. Me too. But we're doing this together. The labor was intense, 16 hours of contractions and pain and exhaustion. Minjun never left her side, letting her squeeze his hand until she probably broke bones, whispering encouragement in Korean and English, being exactly what she needed. When their daughter finally arrived, tiny and perfect and screaming with indignation at being evicted from her warm home, Rahab and Minjun both wept. She's beautiful, Minjun whispered, holding her with terrified reverence. She's perfect. What should we call her? They debated names for months but never settled on one. Minjun looked at their daughter, then at Rahab. Zuri. It means beautiful in Swahili, right? And we'll give her a Korean middle name. Zuri Minji Kong. Zuri Minji, Rahab repeated. It's perfect. Her parents flew in 2 days later, her mother immediately taking charge of everything with the efficiency of someone who'd done this before. Minjun's people sent so many flowers that the hospital room looked like a garden. Cards came from unexpected places, former rivals, business associates, even a short note from Seo Yun in Taiwan that simply said congratulations. She's lucky to have you both. The first week home was chaos. Zuri had opinions about everything. When she wanted to eat, constantly. Where she wanted to sleep, only in someone's arms. How she felt about diaper changes, violently opposed. Rahab and Minjun stumbled through it together, exhausted and overwhelmed and completely in love. How do people do this? Minjun asked at 3 a.m. during the 4th consecutive night of minimal sleep. Zuri was finally quiet after an hour of crying, and he looked shell-shocked. I have no idea, Rahab said, but we're doing it. Somehow, parenthood changed them both. Minjun became fiercer about legitimacy, wanting to give Zuri a world where her father wasn't a criminal. Rahab became more patient with his overprotectiveness, understanding it came from profound love. They learned to function on no sleep, to communicate in shorthand, to tag-team the endless cycle of feeding and changing and soothing. Zuri grew. At 3 months, she smiled. At 6 months, she laughed, a sound that made both parents melt. At 9 months, she started pulling herself up, determined to be mobile. "She's fearless," Minjun observed, watching her try to climb over pillows. "She gets that from both of us," Rahab said. Work had to be navigated carefully. Rahab went back. Part-time at 4 months, her company accommodating but clearly watching to see how committed she remained. She proved herself all over again, working late after Zuri went to sleep, taking calls during nap times, being twice as productive in half the hours. Minjun's transformation was nearly complete. The last of his illegal operations had been sold or shut down. His wealth was now entirely legitimate real estate, restaurants, tech investments. He still had connections to his old world, but they were social, not business. He'd done what he promised. Walked away from the darkness. Almost. The threat came when Zuri was 11 months old. A new organization had moved into Seoul, foreign, brutal, with no respect for established territories or codes. They'd been making aggressive moves, absorbing smaller operations, leaving bodies when people didn't comply. And they'd decided Kang Minjun's wealth made him a target. The first warning was subtle. A car following Rahab from work. She noticed, called Minjun, and security intervened before anything happened. The second was less subtle. A threatening message left at one of his restaurants. The third was terrifying. Someone tried to breach their building's security. "They're testing us," Jin-ho said during an emergency meeting. Rahab insisted on being there despite Minjun's protests. "Seeing if you're really as powerful as your reputation, or if going legitimate has made you vulnerable." "What do they want?" Rahab asked. "Partnership. They want to use your businesses to launder money, your connections to establish themselves. If you refuse, they'll use force," Minjun finished. His expression was the coldest Rahab had seen in over a year. "They're threatening my family. What are our options?" Rahab kept her voice steady, though fear was a living thing inside her chest. Zuri was sleeping upstairs, innocent and oblivious. The thought of these men anywhere near her daughter made Rahab want to burn the world down. "We can negotiate," Jin-ho said. "Give them what they want. Hope they honor whatever agreement we make." "That's not happening," Minjun said flatly. "We can fight. Call in every favor, use every connection. Go to war. That puts civilians in danger, including my family." Or, Jin-ho hesitated. "You come back, fully back. Remind everyone why Kang Minjun isn't someone to threaten. Rule through fear again." The room went silent. This was the choice Rahab had dreaded, the moment when legitimacy collided with survival. When being good wasn't enough to keep them safe. "There's a fourth option," Rahab said quietly. Everyone turned to her. "We go to the authorities. The police." Jin-ho looked scandalized. "We don't cooperate with law enforcement." "I know, but Minjun's legitimate now. He has legal businesses, pays taxes, follows the law. These people are threatening a lawful citizen and his family. Why shouldn't we use the legal system?" "Because it's not how things are done in our world," Jin-ho protested. "It's not your world anymore," Rahab countered, looking at Minjun. "Is it? You left that world. You're a businessman now, a father, a husband. You have the right to police protection just like anyone else." Minjun was thinking, she could see it, weighing options, calculating consequences. "If I go to the police, I burn every bridge to my old life. Forever. No one will ever trust me again in those circles." "Do you need those circles anymore?" "No." He said it with finality. "I don't. I need my family safe. Everything else is secondary." They went to the authorities the next day. Not just local police, but federal investigators who'd been trying to crack the foreign organization for months. Minjun provided information, connections, patterns. In exchange, his family received protection. It was strange, seeing police officers stationed outside their building, knowing federal agents were investigating threats against them. It was the opposite of everything Minjun had been raised to believe. You handled problems yourself, you never involved authorities, you never cooperated. But he'd done it. For Zuri, for Rahab, for the future they were building. The investigation took months. During that time, they lived under constant protection. Rahab couldn't go anywhere without security. Minjun had bodyguards shadow his every move. Even Zuri, barely a year old, had people watching over her. It was suffocating and necessary in equal measure. But Rahab watched Minjun through it all, saw how he handled the pressure. He never once considered going back to his old methods. Never suggested violence as a solution. He'd made his choice and he was sticking to it even when it was hard. "I'm proud of you," she told him one night as they lay in bed, listening to Zuri's baby monitor. "For choosing this path. For staying on it. It's the only path that leads to the life I want," he said simply. "Everything else is a dead end." The foreign organization was dismantled within 6 months. Arrests, deportations, assets frozen. The leaders were extradited to face charges in multiple countries. The threat evaporated like morning mist. And Kang Minjun was finally truly free. "It's really over," he said one evening as they watched Zuri take her first steps. She wobbled between them, determined and fearless, finally making it into her father's arms. "The old life. It's completely done. How does it feel?" Rahab asked, clapping as Zuri laughed triumphantly. "Terrifying. Like I've lost part of my identity." He kissed the top of Zuri's head. "But also like I can finally breathe. I don't have to look over my shoulder anymore. I can take my daughter to the park without security teams. I can be just a father. You were always just a father to her. She doesn't know about the rest. And she never will. That's the gift we're giving her: innocence, safety, choice." They stood there together in their living room, watching their daughter explore her newfound mobility. Two people who'd started with a game of truth or dare and built something neither had expected. A real family, a genuine partnership, a love that had survived everything the world threw at it. "Thank you," Minjun whispered, pulling Rahab close while Zuri crawled toward her toys. "For what?" "For seeing me. For believing I could be better. For giving me Zuri. For being fearless enough to marry a criminal and patient enough to help him become something else." He turned to her. "You saved me, Rahab." "We saved each other," she corrected. "You gave me wildness and passion and adventure. I gave you peace and purpose and a reason to change. We're even." He kissed her softly, sweetly. The kiss of partners who'd weathered storms together and come out stronger. That night, after Zuri was asleep, they made love with a tenderness that spoke of gratitude and commitment and hope. They'd survived the darkness. They'd chosen light. And they had a lifetime ahead of them to enjoy what they'd built. As Rahab drifted to sleep in Minjun's arms, she thought about that first night, the dare that had changed everything. She'd been so confident then, so sure she could keep it casual, keep her heart protected. She'd been wrong, and she'd never been more grateful to be wrong about anything. Because sometimes the best things in life come from the risks you take. From saying yes when logic says no. From daring to believe that love can transform even the darkest souls. Downstairs, Seoul glittered with possibility. Somewhere, people were making their own choices, good and bad, wise and foolish, brave and cowardly. The city turned, indifferent to individual stories, full of millions of intersecting lives. But in this moment, in this home, there were 3 people. A former crime boss who'd found redemption, a fearless woman who'd shown him the way, and the child they'd created from impossible circumstances. And that was enough. That was everything. 5 years later, on a crisp autumn afternoon, Rahab stood in the newly expanded community center, now officially named the Zuri Kang Community Center after their daughter, who'd insisted on donating her entire birthday money collection to the cause when she was 4 years old. The space was filled with children's laughter, the smell of fresh paint, and the sound of hope. So much had changed in 5 years. So much had stayed beautifully the same. Rahab was 33 now, confident in ways her younger self could never have imagined. She'd been promoted to chief marketing officer at the tech company, leading a team of 20. Her hair was longer, her locks decorated with golden cuffs. Her body had changed too, softer in some places from pregnancy and motherhood, stronger in others from chasing after an energetic 5-year-old. And she was pregnant again. For months along with a boy this time, the gentle swell of her belly visible beneath her flowing Ankara dress. Minjun was 38, and the years had been kind to him. The hardness that had once defined his features had softened into something warmer. He smiled more easily now, laughed more freely. His restaurant chain had expanded to 5 locations across Korea, each one a success. His real estate investments were thriving. Everyone he earned was clean, legal, documented. The transformation was complete. "Mama!" A small voice cut through her thoughts. Zuri came running up, her hair in elaborate cornrows that had taken Rahab 3 hours to complete the previous evening. She wore a hanbok-inspired dress in vibrant colors, a fusion of both her heritages that she designed herself with help from her grandmother. "Can I show Papa my painting? It's of our family." "Of course, baby. He's in the main room with the donors." Zuri took off like a shot, all energy and enthusiasm. She was 5 3/4. She'd correct anyone who forgot the 3/4, and already showing signs of both her parents' strongest traits: Minjun's intensity and focus, Rahab's fearlessness and creativity. The combination was both wonderful and occasionally exhausting. She spoke 3 languages fluently: Korean, English, and increasingly impressive Igbo thanks to weekly video calls with her Nigerian grandparents. She was curious about everything, questioned authority with disturbing frequency, and had announced last week that she wanted to be either a chef like Papa or a business lady who helps people like Mama. "That girl is going to change the world," Yuki said, approaching with her own children in tow. A son who was 3 and a daughter who was 1. Yuki had gotten married 2 years ago to a software engineer, and their families had become inseparably close. "Or burn it down," Rahab laughed. "With her, it could go either way. Both of you were wild enough. What did you expect?" Yuki shifted her daughter to her other hip. "How are you feeling? Morning sickness any better?" "Finally, though now I'm constantly hungry. This boy is already demanding." "Boys always are. Trust me." Yuki grinned. "Speaking of which, have you decided on names? We're stuck between Chitty, it means God exists in Igbo, and June, which means talented in Korean. Minjun wants to combine them somehow, but I'm not sure how that would work. Chitty June? June Chitty. Exactly. We'll figure it out eventually." They watched the children play for a moment, comfortable in their friendship. Yuki had been there through everything: the whirlwind romance, the dangerous days, the pregnancy with Zuri, every milestone. She knew most of the truth about Minjun's past, though Rahab had still edited some of the darker details. "You know," Yuki said thoughtfully, "when you first told me you'd married that mysterious man after 6 weeks, I thought you'd lost your mind. But watching you two together, you made it work. You built something real." "We got lucky," Rahab admitted. "It could have gone so differently. So many ways it could have failed. But it didn't. That's what matters." That evening, both families gathered for dinner at Minjun's flagship restaurant, the one that had earned him a Michelin star 2 years running. It was a private dining room, large enough to accommodate everyone. Rahab's parents had flown in from Nigeria for a month-long visit, her mother already taking charge of preparations for the new baby. Minjun's aunt and uncle were there, the only surviving members of his family who'd accepted his transformation. Jinho and his wife attended with their twin daughters, who were Zuri's age and partners in mischief. The table was a beautiful chaos of languages and cultures. Nigerian jollof rice sat next to Korean banchan. Conversations switched from English to Korean to Igbo, sometimes mid-sentence. Children laughed and played between courses. This was Rahab's life now. This beautiful, complicated, perfectly imperfect life. "Tell us the story again," Zuri demanded as dessert arrived. A fusion creation the chef had made specifically for the occasion, combining Korean rice cakes with Nigerian chin-chin. "About how you and Papa met." Rahab and Minjun exchanged knowing glances. They'd crafted a carefully edited version for their daughter, one that maintained the spirit of their meeting while removing the more adult details. "Well," Rahab began, reaching for Minjun's hand under the table. "Papa and I met through the internet. We talked for weeks before we met in person. And when we finally met," Minjun continued, his eyes on Rahab with open adoration. We played a game. Truth or dare. I know this part. Zuri bounced in her seat. Mama always picked dare because she's the bravest person ever. The bravest, Minjun confirmed, squeezing Rahab's hand. And the dare that changed everything was when I asked her to give us a real chance. To see if we could build something lasting together. And you said yes. Zuri clapped her hands. Even though it was scary, Rahab agreed, her voice thick with emotion. Because sometimes the best things in life require taking risks. Will you tell me the real story when I'm older? Zuri asked with the unsettling perceptiveness children sometimes displayed. The grown-up version? Minjun and Rahab looked at each other, communicating in that wordless way married couples develop. When you're much older, Minjun said carefully, when you're old enough to understand that people are complicated, that they can make mistakes and still be good, that love isn't always simple or easy. How old is much older? 30, Rahab said, making everyone at the table laugh. Mama, that's forever away. Exactly. After dinner, after the goodbyes and the chaos of getting an overtired Zuri into pajamas and bed, Rahab and Minjun finally had a moment alone. They stood on the balcony of their home, no longer the penthouse but a proper house in a quieter neighborhood, with a yard where Zuri could play and room for their growing family. The Seoul skyline glittered in the distance, familiar and beautiful. Do you ever miss it? Rahab asked, not for the first time. The danger, the power, the old life? Minjun was quiet for a long moment, considering. Sometimes I miss the simplicity of it. Everything was clear, loyalty or betrayal, strength or weakness, survival or death. No gray areas, no complicated emotions. But this is infinitely better. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands resting gently on her pregnant belly. Coming home to you and Zuri every night, earning money without hurting people, building things instead of destroying them, teaching my daughter that kindness is strength, not weakness. He kissed her temple. I didn't know life could be like this, Rahab. Peaceful, good, meaningful in ways that have nothing to do with fear. She leaned back into him, feeling their son kick against Minjun's palm. We did good, didn't we? Despite everything. Despite all the odds against us. We did extraordinary. He turned her to face him. You did extraordinary. You saw something in me worth saving when I'd given up on myself. You believed I could change when everyone else thought I was beyond redemption. You did the work. I just believed in you. That belief saved my life. His eyes were wet, something that would have been unthinkable years ago. Literally, if you hadn't pushed me toward legitimacy, I'd be dead by now, or in prison, or so corrupted by that life that I'd be worse than dead. Don't, she said softly, touching his face. Don't think about what ifs. We're here. We made it. That's what counts. He kissed her then, slow and deep and full of 5 years of shared history. The passion of their first night, the terror of dangerous times, the joy of Zuri's birth, the peace of their current life. It was a kiss that contained multitudes. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. I have something for you, Minjun said, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small box. We're already married, Rahab laughed. What more could you possibly? She opened the box and gasped. Inside was a pendant, a delicate golden piece that combined symbols from both their cultures. A Korean trigram symbol representing family, intertwined with a Nigerian Adinkra symbol representing love and unity. I had it made specially, Minjun explained as he helped her put it on, to represent what we've built. 2 cultures, 2 people, 1 family. It's perfect, she whispered, touching the pendant. You're perfect. I'm not. I'm still learning. Still figuring out how to be the man you deserve, the father Zuri and our son deserve. You're exactly who we need you to be. They stood there together, looking out at the city that had witnessed their transformation. Somewhere in those streets, other people were making their own choices, starting their own stories. The city turned, indifferent to individual dramas, full of millions of intersecting lives. But in this moment, on this balcony, there was just the 2 of them and the life they'd built together. I dare you, Minjun said suddenly, a smile playing at his lips. "Oh no," Rahab laughed. "We're not playing that game again. I dare you," he continued anyway, "to spend the rest of your life with me, to have more adventures, to build more dreams, to grow old together and watch our children grow up, to stay wild and brave and fearless, but to stay with me while you do it." "That's not how the game works," she protested, but she was smiling. "We're already married. We're already committed. You can't dare me to do something I'm already doing." "Can't I?" His expression grew serious, vulnerable. "Every day, Rahab, I wake up amazed that you're still here, that you chose me, chose this life, chose to believe in us. So yes, I'm daring you again. Forever. That's my dare. Choose me every day for the rest of our lives." Her heart felt too big for her chest. This man, this complicated, transformed, beautiful man, still had the power to undo her with words. "Forever is a long time," she said, echoing words from their early days. "Not nearly long enough," he replied, also echoing the past. She looked up at him, at the silver threading through his hair, at the laugh lines around his eyes, at the face she'd come to know better than her own. She thought about that first night, about the dare that had started everything, about the choice to say yes when everything logical said no. "I accept your dare," she said firmly, "forever and always, through every challenge, every joy, every boring Tuesday and every exciting adventure. I choose you, Minjun, today, tomorrow, and every day after." He kissed her again, and soul sparkled around them like a promise kept. Inside the house, Zuri slept peacefully, dreaming whatever dreams 5-year-olds dream. In a few months, their son would arrive, adding his own energy to their family dynamic. Years would stretch ahead, first. Days of school, teenage rebellions, graduations, heartbreaks and triumphs, grandchildren eventually, all the messy, beautiful complexity of a life lived fully. But it had all started with a simple game. Truth or dare. A wild night that neither had expected to mean anything. Rahab thought about the woman she'd been, determined to stay free, to avoid attachment, to keep life simple and uncomplicated. That woman would never have believed where a single dare would lead. But she'd taken the risk. She'd said yes to the game, yes to the man, yes to all the chaos and complications and impossible beauty that followed. And she'd gotten everything she never knew she wanted. Sometimes the wildest choices lead to the most beautiful destinations. Sometimes breaking your own rules is the best decision you'll ever make. Sometimes love finds you in the most unexpected places. In a dangerous man's eyes, in a game played at midnight, in a dare that changes everything. And sometimes, just sometimes, forever begins with a single word. Yes. As they stood together under the soul sky, Rahab felt complete in a way she'd never imagined possible. Her hand rested on her pregnant belly. Minjun's arms held her close. Their daughter slept safely inside. Their future stretched ahead, bright with possibility. This was her life. Messy, complicated, beautiful, real. And she wouldn't change a single moment of it. Not the fear, not the danger, not the uncertainty, because all of it had led to this love, family, home. Everything that mattered, everything that was real. Truth or dare? The question that had started it all echoed in her memory. She'd chosen dare. She'd always chosen dare. And she'd won everything. The game that began with a wild night in a penthouse had transformed into a lifetime of love. The mafia boss had become a devoted father and husband. The fearless woman who never wanted commitment had built the most beautiful family. Soul stretched out before them, glittering with infinite possibilities. Their story was just one among millions in this city, but it was theirs, hard won, deeply felt, perfectly imperfect. Rahab leaned into Minjun's embrace, feeling their son move inside her, thinking of Zuri sleeping peacefully, remembering every step of the journey that had brought them here. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you more," he replied. "Not possible. Watch me prove it every day for the rest of our lives." And he did.
Hello, besties. We live in a cancel culture where one mistake defines you forever. This story shows that a dangerous person can become devoted and protective. A woman who didn't do commitment can build a beautiful family. Two broken people can create something whole together. Love isn't about finding someone perfect, it's about choosing someone worth the work. Besties, don't be so quick to write people off. Sometimes the wrong choice becomes the right one when both people commit to growing together. Sometimes the wildest risks lead to the most beautiful rewards. Thank you so much for watching. Can you like, subscribe and share?